there are a lot of people that didn't believe that I was who I was. I felt like, I spent all this money.
Welcome to Purpose, Passion, and Prosperity. Here we are today with Dr. Denise Glasper, a longtime friend. I've known her for, I don't want to talk about it because then I would be aging myself, but I've known her for quite some time. She's absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful. She's so busy. She's all over the world. She's international, teaching dentistry from a health perspective. How important it is that you have your dental care in order to keep your health as well as it can be. So I can't wait. I can't wait to jump into this conversation. She has so much wisdom to share, and she has a lot to talk about in her journey to purpose, passion, and prosperity. Denise!
Hey! My girl.
I'm so grateful you took the time to come. I'm really grateful. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. As you know, I don't want to use the word, it really isn't trifling. Like when
No,
you
it's not
call me and I don't get back to you in time, or I'm not clear about what's going on, but I've committed and then I'm not sure, so I need to call you on it. But, thank you for the grace.
Oh, no.
Thank you for the grace. We have known each other for a long time, Tanya.
A long time. Yes.
A long time.
Yeah.
We know each other's secrets.
Oh, God. This is not a show that we're going to talk about secrets. And let me be clear. I have no secrets. I have no idea what she's talking about.
Oh, me either.
Just
I don't know what I'm talking about either.
Just wanted to spice up the
this
conversation.
is not the place or the time. I agree with you. So don't share any of mine.
I absolutely won't. Mm-hmm. Denise, I always started out with this first question because I think it's important for people to understand that they should ask themselves this question. So who is Denise Glasper? I'm sorry, who is Hazel? Hazel
Denise Glasper. I'm a mentor. I'm a friend. I'm a child of God. I don't know. I just felt the presence of my mother come over me, which is something. I'm a niece. I'm an aunt, and I say all those things because all of them are very present and significant in my life. So I guess I wear a lot of hats. I'm a boss or an employer. So I'm all those things.
And then when you look back as a little girl, when did you know, or what was it in your life that made you know that you wanted to get into dentistry?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Not one thing.
So what happened?
Not one thing. I never, ever wanted to be a dentist, never considered it. As a matter of fact, I was one of those kids who held on to their toothbrush for about 6 months, 9 months. Let's be real. We can act like we came from the generation where we traded our parents would buy us toothbrushes every 3 months, or that we were flossing like that. We didn't understand oral health in my family. We went to the dentist when there were emergencies, and we had dentists who only treated our emergencies, never educated us about the importance of oral health. They just extracted a tooth, filled a tooth. I don't really even remember getting regular cleanings or my parents getting regular cleanings. And it's not because my parents didn't know. They didn't know it was required, right? I was at Spelman College, and I'm in the pre-med program at Spelman, and I'm talking to who I considered to be one of the smartest girls at Spelman and in my class. And I thought we were chatting about where we're applying to medical school, and she said she was going to dental school. And I was shocked. Like, why the hell would you go to dental school? Why would you do that? You are brilliant. You are smart. Listen, we're trying to cheat off you in school.
Right.
Why would you do that? And in that conversation, my mind was open. If this brilliant woman is applying to dental school, there must be something greater and bigger about dentistry than most people realize. And in that moment, I was intrigued. I was open. I'm aware of my inner voice, and I'm open to what the universe is creating in front of me. I'm present to it. And in that moment, something inside of me shifted. So I decided, let me do some research about it. I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. I would have been a horrible pediatrician. I love kids. I don't love them like that. And I'm trying to treat them every day with sickness and, whatever. I'm just not that chick, right? Okay. So being a pediatrician wouldn't have been me, but I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and I thought I wanted to work with kids. But after that conversation, I started pursuing dentistry, started looking at dentistry, and I wasn't totally committed, but it was a direction that I was being pulled towards, and I wasn't quite clear about it, but I kept going towards it.
Did she end up doing dentistry?
She did.
Is she still in dentistry?
So that's a funny story. I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's an orthodontist here in the D.C. area. Mm-hmm. About 7 years ago, I contacted her to invite her to one of my conferences. And I shared with her that the reason why I got into dentistry was because of a conversation I had with her. And I promise you, she was acting like she didn't even know me. It was the craziest thing. She was like, now she's always been a little intense, mm-hmm. and a little bit like the smartest people sometimes can, mm-hmm. be a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Not so socially.
Right. Exactly. And I think it's that more so, and I probably surprised her by re-entering her life in that way, but I was excited to share with her, I'm doing these great things, and you were one of, you were instrumental. You motivated me without knowing it. She didn't come to the event. And when I said that I was going to email it to her, she was like, well, don't use my office email because I don't use that. It just became a little weird.
Right.
So I was like, well, you know what? You can look it up on the website. if you want to come.
Right.
If you don't, then,
So
hopefully in the future, I'll see you at one of the reunions or whatever. And then probably a couple of weeks later, because I was really taken aback, right? And I called one of my classmates, and I was like, this chick was like really weird on the phone. And she was like, girl, you know how she is, So in other words, she was trying to say to me, she's just that way. I don't think she meant anything about it. Just she's not a social, mm-hmm. being in that way, and it probably just caught her off guard. But she changed my life in that moment. But God used her in that moment.
Exactly.
So she was a vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And
she served her purpose.
She served her purpose. She did.
Mm-hmm.
She did. And I talked about her all over the country.
So that's awesome. Let's go back to all the things that Denise is. So tell me about, because I know the first reason you said you were a daughter because of your recent passing of your mother. How would you describe yourself as a daughter with your mother? And I'm sure she's so proud looking down at this point. But how would you describe yourself as a daughter?
So when I said, I have to say that first because my mother passed, no, I've been a daughter all my life. Like, Tanya, I've been loved down. I've been loved on. I'm the only girl out of 7 and the youngest. They waited for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people will always say, girl, they couldn't wait to get a daughter.
Girl.
And in my eyes, after having about 4 kids, I don't know if they were thinking about having a daughter versus just having sex. You understand what I'm saying? If something come out of it, it comes out of it, right? Because after 4 boys, 5 boys, and 6 boys, why do you think you're going to have a daughter?
Right.
But they did. They had a daughter. And in my life, I have always felt special. I've always had a voice. I've always been protected. My mother was very clear about mothering me and setting a perfect example of what a mother should be. And so a daughter it's a role that defines me. My mother was my rock.
I receive it.
My mother is a woman who would always speak her mind. She was crystal clear. And my mother was a very simple woman. She had some college education, but she was a country woman. She didn't understand me shaving my head or wearing feathers in my ear, or because I have always been, non-traditional in that way. But my mother has always loved me, and my father has loved me. My mother was more foundationally, my father's upbringing was a little different than my mother. My mother was just who she was, and she took excellent care of us. So your question is what?
My question was, who are you as a daughter? And you explained to me. I get it.
As a daughter, I am so proud to have been, my grandmother was a powerhouse, my aunts powerhouses, my mama. My mother is the reason I am who I am today is because God chose her as my mother. And until she took her last breath, she knew that I would do anything for her, that I have done everything that I can. My mother wasn't the type of mother that demanded a lot of me. She was her own woman. She took care of herself. She didn't put her issues or problems with my daddy or anything like that on me. Even the loss of my siblings, she carried it as a woman. She is just, before she died, she said, about a month before she died, I was with her. And she said, I said, I love you, Mom, because I told her I loved her every time I talked to her all my life. And she said to me, how much? And I said, the whole world. And she said, that's it. Because she knew that our love transcended.
It was infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that 100%. I love the story you told me about you. Every time you would go there, you would just sit in the bed with her, and y'all would look at TV and just chill and talk and etc. I'm sure that's something that you think about, but it's a good memory, right? It's a memory that helps you hold on to.
Well, the truth is, when my dad died 26 when I was pregnant with my son, when my dad died, even though my mother had a full life and she had my brothers surrounding her, I'm the daughter, right? Mm-hmm. So every time I would go visit her, I would sleep in the bed with my mom. Mm-hmm. We'd lay up and talk girl talk and just be quiet together, be still. And I'm talking about for 26 years, Tanya.
I got you.
That's a long time. So when, like, it was just what we did.
I got it.
And it was, I miss it. When she was taken from Atlanta to live with my brother in Arizona, she went from having her own bed. They created this beautiful space for her. And I would sleep in the bed with her. And then she went to a bed where she had to sit up more than I'm sitting up, not really sleeping that well, to a hospital bed where I couldn't.
Right.
And that was very different for both of us. So she would say to me, "Are you going to get in the bed with me?" And I would. Of course, I couldn't sleep all night there, but I would spend hours cramped up in this hospital bed with her, just to be close to her, just to be in her presence, and her in mine. So she was proud of me, and I was so proud of her.
How has her example made you, your motherhood journey?
I used to say if I was a quarter of the mother that my mother was, I'm good. But I'm my mama. I'm a disciplinarian. My mother didn't play with you. She wasn't gonna play with you. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was clearly your mama. Okay. You know, and eventually your friend. So I'm a disciplinarian. I am present for my kids. I know my children. I respect my children. My children have a voice. I'm strong, and my mother is a strong woman. My grandmother, I come from strong women. So I am very clear about my expectations with my kids, and they're very clear about, one, they're extremely respectful. As I was with my mother. And so when I hear stories about kids, talking mad shit and doing crazy, right. I don't even know what you're talking about, because right now I will hem my kids up, and I don't play that type of thing. My mother didn't play it with me, right? So, my kids are godly. And, I walked in the other night. My youngest son just got home from college, and he was on his knees praying before he was, going to eat his meal. And I'm not saying he ain't in the street doing some ratchet stuff, but...
Right, I mean,
right, you understand what I'm saying? Either one of them, all my kids, but they know God, and I'm telling you, one of the principal reasons is because my parents made sure that we knew God,
right,
and kind of all of us went in our own direction with that, but I never strayed when it came from knowing my relationship with God. I've struggled with certain things around God over the years, but my kids are they're godly. And so my mother brought that to us, right? And my parents. Family means everything. I have a very strong core. And my mother and father brought that to us. So, I'm my parents, and I'm good with it. And I think that's so important. I am so good with the fact that my parents had rules, and I had to follow those rules. My parents were simple folks, and I'm okay with it. Wasn't complex. It was clear. I am so good with how I was raised. And it's probably very different from the way you were raised in some ways, very different from my partner, very different from a lot of people. But I am so honored to have been raised by, James W. and Janola Glasper.
Well, Denise, you've turned out very well, so you should be. You should absolutely be very, very grateful for that. That you were dropped into their lives at the time that you were as the baby girl. So, yeah.
But I've come to realize that not everyone has had that privilege.
No, they haven't. You're absolutely right. Which is why so many of us are out here leading lives totally confused because we didn't have that kind of
foundation.
Yeah, but I always tell people that at some point, when you get to a certain age, you have to take responsibility for your stuff. I'm sorry. It's and the other thing, your parents deserve grace because you know what? They had parents, they had things they had to go through, and they weren't perfect. They were doing the best they could do.
Absolutely.
And I think the moment we stop blaming everybody for our stuff, I mean, I truly do believe in the inner child thing and that your upbringing has a lot to do with who you become and how you react to things. But at some point, you have to heal and you have to reach out to whoever you believe, whether it's God, Buddha, whoever you believe in.
Right.
And know that you have everything within to be whoever you need to be. So,
absolutely right. And nobody's life was perfect.
Nobody. Right? Well, then what's the point?
Nobody, But that's the journey.
Exactly.
That's life.
Exactly.
And so, at certain point, you have to start claiming your own life. You can't be some 50, 60, 40-something-year-old person. Well, you can't be. But if you still reliving things from the past that are overdone, even if they were horrific, right? If you haven't dealt with your trauma, then you can't live your life fully, and that's unfortunate. And I got that from my family. We live, not at all of us, but my mother very much lived in the present. I remember when my father died, and that was 26 years ago, and again. And I said to my mother, what if we had found the cancer earlier? What if this? What if that? And my mother said to me, there are no what ifs. It's what is. And that has stayed with me because I was living my life sometimes saying, what if? And it wasn't realistic. It happened. Now, what are you going to do?
Things happen the way they're supposed to. We really have no control as much as we think we do. So, we understand how you mother. What made you decide that I'm going to open up a nice dental office and be a businesswoman? What took you down that path?
When you say nice, what do you mean?
I don't mean nice like that. I mean,
no. When you say nice, because versus not nice.
No,
because I'm sure there are some not nice dental offices. But what were you thinking when you said nice?
No, what I was thinking was,
you know me, Todd.
Oh God, I'm sorry. It's so literal. What I meant was
it can be literal as hell.
Your office is nice. It's absolutely nice. But what I'm saying, I meant what I said. A nice.
Okay. So an upscale dental practice, maybe. What made me? The funny thing about me is I kind of flow through life. I really do. It's what comes to me and feels right in that moment. So I worked at a lot of dental practices, and I worked for mostly white men. Mm-hmm. And I had some interesting experiences with them that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about it taught me a lot that some people can be outright crazy, like cat shit crazy. You know, disrespectful, but even achieve success under those conditions.
Something that,
right?
I receive it.
Right.
I know exactly.
So, and I'm not just saying because they were white men. I worked for some black men. I never worked for black women. I didn't get the opportunity. Or did I work for white women? I'm not sure. But I learned something in each of those opportunities that changed my life. So even though I worked for someone who didn't have great interpersonal skills, or who was disrespectful to his employees or patients at the time, he knew how to present treatment. He knew how to formulate treatment plans. He knew how to collect. So I took the value of that opportunity and I left the rest.
Got you.
Right?
You took what you needed.
I took what I needed, and when I was finished, and that no longer served me, I moved on. So I had a bunch of those opportunities where I was able to pick up what made those particular practices successful. And when it was time for me to open up my own practice, I had studied with the gurus in the dental space, the people who were doing big things in the industry. Because the one thing about me, I was never going to be a dentist who's sitting there cleaning teeth, filling teeth, and extracting teeth. That's boring as hell. That's nothing that I would ever do all day long. That's not me. So I was looking again for that bigger and greater thing. And so I studied, I invest very early, and start picking up, this is why it's important, right? So I learned about aesthetic dentistry, which is, the beauty of things. And I learned about functional dentistry, like orthodontics and malocclusion, teeth being in a good position. But what I realized is people weren't talking about health. That dentistry was about teeth. And to many people, teeth are expendable, right?
Yes.
Just pull them.
No,
What's
yes.
the big deal?
Yes, you can,
right?
You can see it in the world as you
Right. No big deal. So I started to realize that what needed to be brought to the forefront, and of course I wasn't the first, second, or whatever,
right.
But in some ways I was a pioneer in my thinking and in my experiences, that health, function, and aesthetics is complete dentistry. So when I opened up my practice, I decided I was going to have a practice that would invite people into my space that would understand, or I could educate them to appreciate complete care. So I went to an area with great demographics. I built out beautiful spaces. I built out 2. And I knew that I was not going to practice drill and fill patchwork dentistry, that I was going to treat the whole body. And it's been phenomenal. It's been, it's been a business that has always, for the most part, I have had excellent patient outcomes. I've saved lives, I've improved lives, and it's been extremely profitable. So I learned how to be a great businesswoman and a great clinician. And so
I receive it. Tell us some of the challenges you had in transitioning to opening your own business and then going on to do a second office. Tell us, because it couldn't have been just all smooth sailing.
Oh, no.
So tell us some of the challenges maybe that would be beneficial to the audience about how you broke through those challenges.
Well, challenges working for being an associate with individuals who were not always respectful, where if I didn't have the mindset that I have, and I contribute that to my parents, right, and just who I am innately, that would try to beat you down, try to use you, right, and not teach you. Being in spaces where you're not always valued, being in spaces where you can't run from practice to practice to practice to practice, trying to find something, but you can't stay in a practice where someone is disrespecting you. I think the most disrespected I ever was, and you might keep this in or cut it out, is, working in a practice with a different type of disrespect was in Prince George's County, here in Prince George's County, where, people I completely trusted because they, look like me, right? And it was such shade that was being thrown, and just crazy disrespectful things. So working with people who, to me, didn't value themselves, and I'm saying across the board, and didn't really value patients and didn't value people that they hired, right? So having to decide that I'm going to be a person of integrity, even through these situations. I'm not going to be disrespected. I'll know when to speak up and when not to speak up. You can't speak up on every single thing, right? You have to know your battles, but to let them know who they're dealing with, right? So there have been times where, I've been hurt, emotionally, or didn't fully understand because I wasn't used to being treated in a certain way. So that's one thing. The other thing, when I decided to have a practice in Howard County, dealing with vendors who just kept bringing me back to Prince George's County. And no disrespect to Prince George's County, it's a phenomenal county, but I decided I want to practice in Howard County, and they didn't really understand why a Black doctor would want to be over there. So they weren't showing me certain areas.
These are the realtors you're speaking to?
Yeah, I'm talking about dental. Certain dental supply companies have representatives who not only want to show you locations, but want to sell you equipment and all that. And they just kept refusing to show me a wide range of opportunities. So I had to advocate for myself. Another thing, when I built out my practice, I invested a lot of money in that practice. And I was dealing with men who maybe didn't have a whole lot of respect for a woman that was a person who was a woman, first of all, and a person who was a Black woman. So when I was building out my practice, I decided, I got this big proposal, let's say for $300,000 to build out the practice. And At the end, I was very strategic and decided that and you would appreciate this because you're a builder in that way. I decided that instead of using commercial builders for the finishes, I'm going to use a residential builder.
Got you.
And one, because I wanted a residential feel in the practice, and two, I could save over $100,000,
yeah.
right?
Commercial and residential is a different,
right. It's
yep.
a different thing. And, I had, so I said to him, do you mind if I take some of the things from your proposal? And he said, yes. I took all the finishes.
Of course.
And he lost it and,
That's where he
threatened to
makes his
sue
money.
me.
That's where he makes his money.
Well, and he had made a lot of money off me already. And so he threatened to sue me. And my thing was, and he kept with it. I said, well, why you keep talking about it? Just
Do it.
do it, baby. Do it, baby. Why you keep chatting? Why you keep talking about it?
Right.
Do it.
Because you had already told him and he agreed. So what is he going to say?
I mean, and if you feel like you have a leg to stand on it. Because I am not scared like that. And I think that's really important.
Oh, it's really important.
Because they're used to,
You backing down.
or not understanding what's going on. And they just weren't dealing with that chick. Not to say, my heart didn't skip a beat for a second. Like, am I going to, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
So, I've had numerous challenges with patients, coming at me. When you move into an area that's predominantly white and you're a Black woman, and, sometimes people do or do not try to respect you. So, and that's patients, period, of all races or sex, genders or whatever, and you have to establish who you are quickly. So, throughout my career, I have had major challenges. Tanya, when I first wanted to become a speaker, I was bold enough to reach out to one of the most well-known and the richest dental supply company in the industry. And I got a meeting with them like that. They were looking for someone like me, right? And I took my team there. I took Cynthia, I took Greer, and we came in. We looked like we just walked out of Vogue magazine. And I had this model that I wanted to introduce, health function and aesthetics. I was ready. I knew this was my ticket. I knew now I was going to be, this person was going to position me. And it was the worst meeting to me. It was disrespectful. It was, I'd spent all this money to bring my team in, and it turned out to be nothing at the time. That's how I saw it. Okay, that's how I saw it. And I felt like I was being talked down to. I felt like so many things, wasted my money. He didn't give me the opportunity to pitch the way that I
wanted to.
It was all of that. And I, for the first time in my life, it's funny, I felt shame. And I wasn't used to feeling shame in my life. And it's funny because I reached back and talked to him about that later, right? And I've spoken about this on stage, shame. And he said, why would you feel shame? So from a male's perspective, why shame, right? From a woman's perspective, I felt shame. I felt embarrassed. I felt that I wasn't worthy in that moment. I felt like that I miscalculated something, that I felt like, I spent all this money. I felt, I was used to winning. And it was it was very hard on me. And I carried that for years. It didn't stop me.
But it was
As
in the
a
back
matter
of
of
your
fact.
mouth.
And one of the things he said to me,
He's a white male?
White male. Mm-hmm. He said to me, and it offended the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. He said, this didn't offend me. Who knows you? Who knows you? Right? But he was asking, who knows you in the NDA, which is the Black organization? And I felt like what I brought to the table was bigger than just the Black organization. So it offended me at the time. But then when I left, I thought, who does know me?
You thought about it. I got
You
it.
understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I have been over in Marysville, Maryland. I've been doing incredible things. I've been in my own little silo, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But who knows me? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the next week or so, the NDA had a meeting. I walked into that meeting with intentions, and by the end, I was sitting down with the leadership of that meeting, of that organization, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. And when I sat down with the leadership, I mean, immediately just start talking to them. They start grabbing it. Do y'all know, like, where she come? Like, you know.
Right.
And I'm just telling them about my principles, how I practice, mm-hmm, how I think. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the night, it was like
They appreciated you.
They were like, who is this?
Right.
I
got you.
And one of them told me later, because I started developing relationships with them as friends, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. And he was the past president. Like, he knew the man that I had. He knew him well. Mm-hmm. He said, and he was at my office, and I remember he said to me, I'm going to be honest with you, after sitting with me and hearing all that I wanted to do. He said, I don't even know how to get you where you want to go, because he felt like it was bigger
than even that.
Than like
who you went to talk to the first time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like it was, I don't even know what to do with you.
Got you.
And I'm going to tell you another challenge I had now that we're on this. One of the individuals within the organization, one of the individuals that I became fairly close with said to me, I want to introduce you to somebody that could help you, possibly. And so I closed down my practice and I came to this event, and she wanted to introduce me. She's a Black woman in mm-hmm. leadership. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to introduce me to this white woman who was doing incredible things in dentistry. And as we're walking around and at this event, the woman was right there. And we didn't go up to her. And then the woman was right there, and we didn't go up to her. And I'm going to introduce you. Well, the woman's right there. Okay. You understand what? I can reach out and touch her.
So, I'm confused.
Introduce me. Right. Go ahead and introduce me. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. I took off work.
To come meet this
woman right there. You know, right. I could go introduce myself. So we left that day. I hadn't been introduced to the woman, right? I was so confused. So she said, well, come back tomorrow. I'm not coming back tomorrow. Like, the woman was right there, right? I didn't get it. But okay, you know, it was a nice meeting. I met people. So I was on this podcast with one of the industry leaders, bigwig, this guy. And he asked me, who do I want to get to know? Mm-hmm. And so I started naming a couple of people, and I named that woman. Mm-hmm. And later that night, or a couple of days later, I can't remember, this was years ago, and we have definitely worked through it. She called me and said, "So how did your podcast go?" And I said, "I thought it was really nice, right?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "Why did you mention her name?" I said, "Whose name?" And she said, "The woman's name." She said, "Let me tell you something. You will not hurt my career. You will not, implying use me to gain opportunity.
But she never introduced you.
You will, because I have had people in the past use me to
Denise, I'm confused.
To elevate themselves. What?
Right. I'm confused. This is law. She never mind. Okay. I'm sure you're going to tell me something that so I can understand.
Okay. I don't even think small like that. So let me say that. I don't care about that woman. I'm talking about the woman you want to introduce me to. If I really want to meet that woman, I would have walked and met her. But you will never tell me whose name to mention, whether it's the Pope, Obama. I can mention any name out of my mouth. I would never use anybody to gain. So let me tell you what I came to realize. I came to realize that there are a lot of people that didn't believe that I was who I was.
I received that.
Or was going to be.
Oh, I get it. Yes, I received that.
And so they thought I needed
them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know about God. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say. I'm sorry.
And I'm sure, she truly knows God. I don't need to use anybody. I didn't need that woman. I didn't really need that man from that big company. I thought I needed him. And God showed me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Girl, please. Mm-hmm. Right? So I came to realize that not everybody is thinking at the level that you're thinking at. Not everybody is going to support your journey. There are people who, maybe I'm sure she had been used or approached in the past, like, I'm just trying to hang with you or get with you so I can, have you introduce me to people and take me to. I wasn't used to that type of carrying on. I just wasn't used to, like, I'm a straight shooter. Mm-hmm. Like, I might not know you, but I might say, "Can you introduce me to so-and-so?" Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not trying to be fake or phony or nothing like that, but I thought we were friends. So I had to end up saying to her, "First of all, ma'am, be mindful how you speak to me. Second of all, ma'am, I care about you. I love you. I support you. I've gotten to know you. But if I want to say something out of my mouth, anybody's name, you got to respect me enough to know that not one person, not even me alone, is going to get me where God is leading me. So there may have been other people in your space who have not been authentic, have not been truthful, have not been real. I'm not that one. And so I've had to navigate in spaces where there have been people who've been traumatized, where there have been organizations who might not understand that this black woman over in Marriottsville is killing the game in a lot of ways. And I'm willing to support and help. We all can be killing the game. And if you know something, I want to know what you know, but I'm willing to share, and I'm not trying to use anybody. So I have, there's a lot of innocence around me and my upbringing because I was protected, so when I have dealt with other black women, or when I've dealt with other people of other races that are not straight shooters or not as whatever, it has been a challenge for me.
Tell us about Teach Me Dental.
So Teach Me Dental was my gateway into speaking, coaching, and introducing my practice model. I realized that before I could put myself in front of dentists and tell them that this practice model that I've developed, that has positioned me as a top producer and collector, that has helped with patient outcomes, that I needed to get the public excited about it. So I opened up a nonprofit and I started speaking across Maryland. I was speaking at all types of events. I got a publisher. You know Micheline Bowman?
I do not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm surprised. I could see you all being friends. I got with a branding company. I met Micheline Bowman. Then I was doing radio, television. So I'm educating the public about comprehensive dentistry. Then I started having conferences with the medical community. So I would bring in dentists and other physicians, and we would sit down and talk about the impact that oral health has on overall health. I would give events, just like I gave an event on the dental oral health care crisis, and I highlighted the young kid who died from Prince George's County, Diamante Driver. So I started educating the masses, and that was the Teach Me Dental movement. So educate the public first, and then go to dentists and encourage them. Because now we have patients asking about what is comprehensive dentistry, and could my heart be affected? Could I develop memory problems? Can I lose a baby? Can I develop cancer? Can I develop, or deal with autoimmune conditions? So I was bringing awareness.
That's beautiful, Denise. The other question I have behind that is, you've transcended race at this point. You have really, I've seen it. You've transcended race. They see you as a black woman, but they don't see you. That means you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I had the privilege growing up of coming from a black community where there's nothing but black people in my community, but being exposed to all kinds of people. Oral health transcends race and gender and socioeconomics and education. So, I was always going to work in a space embracing all, because I do love all, right? We were all created equally, but we all know, as black women, that we have our own journey in any organization, situation, or whatever.
So, what would you say your purpose is at this point? Is it a clearly defined definition for you, or are you still on the journey?
I'm still on the journey. I'm not, I got some living to do here, Tanya. I got a lot. I have a lot to do. Transition from being a practice owner.
Okay.
And there are the opportunities awaiting me right now are great and unique. So, am I living on purpose? I am living on purpose because, unfortunately, did you hear about the guy recently, the football player who lost his life to dental sepsis?
No, I didn't.
Mike Williams, I think it is. I lost a brother who developed sepsis, right?
So explain what sepsis is.
Oh, it's a blood infection.
Okay, and how does that?
And it can come from a virus, a fungus, a bacteria. The majority of the time it comes from a bacteria.
Isn't that what Chuck Brown died from?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure. A lot of people get sepsis,
Okay.
right? One of the places in your body where you have a high concentration of harmful organisms or bacteria is the mouth.
Right.
Over 80% of the adult population has some form of gum disease. And these bacteria can leave the mouth and go to different parts of the body. And with my brother, I had diagnosed him with severe oral conditions 2 years prior and informed him he could become sick if he didn't address it. And like many people, he looked at my recommendation. He looked at me as a tooth doctor versus a real doctor. And he just didn't think it was that serious. His concern was, can I fix that broken tooth up front versus can I deal with the oral disease? And he developed sepsis. Ultimately, he developed bacterial endocarditis, which is the bacteria from the mouth or from wherever attached to the heart, right? And both his feet were amputated within a week of being diagnosed, and my brother ultimately passed away from complications of sepsis. So my purpose is because, I've lost siblings from oral disease. I lost a brother March 4th of 2022 from oral cancer. And, there are too many stories in my life and in my family where oral disease either attributed to their death or attributed to their sickness. And so am I on purpose? And I never would have realized that God would use me in this way. I don't think God caused those things, but he knew that my message could change how so many people think about oral health. And he just won't let me out of it. With the recent loss of my brother, this word that I have, this mission that I'm on is personal. And trust me, there are many people in your life that the diabetes that they have, the hypertension that they have, the miscarriages, the Alzheimer's, all of that could or is because of poor oral health. And until we start looking at the mouth as being part of the body and recognize, and I'm not talking about just the public, But I'm talking about other doctors realizing that they can treat heart disease all day long. They can treat diabetes all day long. But if they're not looking at the cause of it and treating that and dealing with us as doctors, then the patient will not be healed.
I receive it. What do you do for fun?
Spend time with my family is a great time. Spend time hanging out, eating, drinking with friends is a great time. And really enjoy my friends' travel. I love to travel. I enjoy working out, listening to gospel music. Recently, I went and listened to the symphony at the Kennedy Center. I just came back from Jamaica, hanging out with my team. I love to sit and vegetate in front of the TV and look at crazy things, Netflix or whatever, meditate. Jump on a scooter, go all across town. I'm a daredevil, skydiving, and
Skydiving, really?
yeah.
Okay. I receive it. I'm not that dare or devil.
Right. Jumping off cliffs, right? Yeah, I love that stuff. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, skydiving was the latest thing that I did. It was really very interesting. So, I'm very adventurous.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What made you want to skydive?
It was a birthday present.
Oh, okay.
And only because that was the next thing to do. I went skydiving with Caleb, my youngest son.
Okay.
And I'll tell you about that. Skydiving and looking up before it's your turn, and you look up and all you see are these little black dots until the people come into view.
What do you mean?
Like, you look up and you see nothing. You see the plane go up, take people up into the sky, and then you're waiting, then you see these little teeny black dots, like a period. And then you start seeing more form and more form and more form, and you seeing that they're people.
You mean as you drop?
As you drop from the plane, right? And you think, oh my God, they're that high up that they look like black dots in the air, right? And then it's your turn. And you get in the plane, and my son was in the front and I was in the back, and they opened up the door, and my son was like right there. There's no seat belt or anything. And they told him to stand up and come over, and I'm like, that's my child. I mean, we are up at least 10,000 feet, and he is walking with no strap or anything. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Lord. This was a mistake. But, everything turned out okay. But when they clip me, they clip you to them, right? Strap you, and then
you're gone.
You're gone.
You didn't have time to think.
Oh my God. But all you feel is this air that's so with force, that's literally pushing your face back, and then you're out there.
And so how, in your mind, was the drop like quick, or like, what were you thinking as you're going to the black dots?
You just go. Like everything is in the moment, right? Like first thing I thought is this is a lot of air in my face, So I'm turning my face away from the air. And then, then you're just dropping. And so you have that sensation. And then you're,
Swoop
the
back
parachute,
up.
and then everything, you can see everything. like the world, right? And then you're just taking it all in, then it's over. You know.
I have to think about my heart. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got a few more years I want to live.
Yeah. It's an adrenaline. It's a rush.
I'm sure.
You've never done anything like that?
Oh no, I have no desire so to do that. I don't need to prove anything to myself.
I'm not proving anything.
I said to myself, I don't need to prove anything. That's not. And I won't even go to the ones that they have. The simulated ones. So, because
you got what's your rush?
I don't really need a rush. I don't need a rush. I need peace. I like peace. You know what I mean?
And there's no peace in that moment.
None.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's just being really at peace with myself, and when things come at me, being okay with being able to maneuver them. That's really important to me. I've done so much stuff in my life. Like, I'm at an age now, I don't need the rush. You know what I mean? It's not inherent in me. So.
You're seeking peace?
No, I am
peaceful.
I am peaceful for the most part, and getting better at it every year.
Yeah, that comes with age, doesn't
it?
It really does come with understanding and acceptance.
Yeah, we have to. And I find that, things that would have shaken me in my younger years, I transcend through them. That's so much more important to me in my life. I want to be able to, because I have been very emotional and reactive for a little bit more than half of my life. And so being able to hone that skill and to be able to keep my emotions and to think clearly and to not know that most of the shit that I got upset was not about me. It's been a very tranquil, peaceful place to be.
Which is so funny because you've been this type as long as I've known you. You've been very steady. I've never seen you go off on anyone. So you must keep a lot inside.
You've just never seen me go off. It's not pretty. So
I've never seen you act a fool. I've never seen
have you seen me go off? You've never seen me go off?
I mean, you're very a lot of times the voice of reason. I've seen you be that for me, the voice of reason for others, steady. I saw you when you lost your dad, and you were steady. You weren't on the floor. You weren't on the.
I'm with your mother. It's what is. I really am.
But you were a young little thing then. I mean, you were what is then.
But I have a lot of I have a lot of emotion that I release through athletics, running, doing something active to get it out. And I pray a lot because the times that I have lost my temper, I have not been proud. And so I work very hard not to do that. My mother and father were in their younger days, they were a little combative. And so I found in my relationships, I would be combative. And I didn't want to be that.
What is combative?
Meaning fussing.
Fussing, yeah.
I don't want to fuss with people. Like,
okay.
we don't have to fuss to communicate. You know what I mean? I don't have to win every argument. I don't need all those things because I don't want to be right all the time, because I believe that a high IQ is a person who can receive many perspectives versus just your own, because your own is not enough. It's nil compared to this big world, because you're only living in your perspective, and all those other perspectives matter. So for me, but I tell you, you just haven't seen it. Because it's really probably close family have seen me lose my temper. So I'm not that person who has done, oh yeah, I have lost my temper.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You know, my life, I've been very black and white. I think that came from my upbringing. Either it was right or it was wrong. Either it was this or that. And life has really shown me that there's so many grays. Right? And life has brought people into my life showing me that there are many, many grays. So, you know, with thinking that things are very black or white, you can be judgmental at times about things, and I have been.
Well, we all can be
Judgmental.
judgmental.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is in life. We all have a judgment, but it doesn't mean just because you have a judgment, you can't see the other side. Because sometimes when I judge, then I step back and think, well, Tanya, did you really think this could have been that, could have been this, right? But that's just human nature sometimes, I believe. But the last question, it's two questions I want to ask. The next question I wanted to ask is, what's prosperity to you?
Prosperity is the same thing as prosperous.
My definition of prosperity is living a fulfilled life. It's not always, and my term for fulfillment is to be emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financial fulfilled. So that's my definition of prosperity. But some people relate it totally to money. Some people relate it to one or other. So I'm just asking, in your mind, what is prosperity?
I think prosperity for me is a richness of love, a richness of friendships, right? Even if you only have, a few. It's a richness of laughter. I mean, that's so important.
Yes. Yes.
To laugh at yourself, to laugh at situations. I think prosperity is comfort. That sounds funny to put to use those two things together, but being comfortable in your own skin and not having to prove. I think as women, as people, we're so worried about what other people think, and I'm surely not immune to that. But prosperity means wealth to me. It means family, closeness and being connected to family always.
Got it. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to share?
I don't think so. I think that anything that I tend to believe that anything that is supposed to be shared would come up, right? I do want to say that the experiences that I have, some of the people that I shared about or talked about or had challenges with, that we were able to work through those challenges. So if they happen to see it or whatever, they, don't feel like I continue to carry it, but it was an eye-opener for me as an individual because of who I am, right? And it was in all those situations I grew, and I hope
they did
as well. I guess you have slowly surprised me.
I have, okay.
And I say that because the last time in a long time I had a very rich conversation with you was after I lost my mother. And I shared with you prior to that, and I'm sure you remember the conversation that, I've had tragedies in my life, that friends that I considered friends over the years, or either at the time were not present for those tragedies, right? And I think you said something, maybe we weren't privy to the tragedies. I couldn't imagine because we have a small group of friends, but maybe because when you're going through stuff, I'm not calling a bunch of people, I'm just trying to go through it, right?
Right.
That's the truth. But the last time I talked to you, I really got a chance to see how you have evolved as a person, and just your wisdom and your clarity. And we used to talk a lot in the past. I don't know, did we have a whole lot of deep conversations in the past?
Denise, it's been so long.
Yeah, can you remember it, right?
Right.
So when we talked recently, and your calmness, your the stability that was coming from your core, the was enlightening, peaceful. It moved me. You told me, you called me because of what I said to you before, and you wanted some space and time to go. It was a couple of weeks after my mom's death, but you wanted me to know that you were thinking about me, and that I was in your prayers. And I could see your evolution in that moment, and mine. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I want you to
appreciate
know
saying
that you have done some incredible things in your life. One day you'll share with me, and we'll have a conversation how you've gotten, and maybe over some lunch, because you said you're going to give me some lunch.
I'm going to tell her. She's going to call me out. Here we go.
You know how you've gotten to where you are, and what it's taken, and maybe you've shared that in this space, and I haven't.
No, I really haven't, but I will.
Yeah, so you need someone to
Interview me?
Interview you.
Okay.
Yeah. So congratulations in who you are, where you are in your life, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Denise. I truly, truly appreciate you saying that. But I'm even more proud of you because when I think about the impact, the triple bottom line that you're going to give the world, not only of course, we all do business to, get a return on our investment, right? But a return on your legacy and the return on impact far, in my mind, outweighs the return on your investment.
Yes, it does.
Because it brings you, money can't buy the look in somebody's eye that you share something with them to make them do something different that they might have never done, but not for you. And just listening to you talk about heart, the whole sepsis and the heart thing and the diabetes, and that people they're always related to just eating what they eat, but not that they're not taking care of their mouths and everything, which is causing also health problems.
I mean, major.
So that is, God has put you in a great niche and on the right path. So
He has. He has. He has. He's entrusted something with me. I'll leave you with this. Tabitha Brown, recent when I was going through this, the day I was speaking to you, did I tell you about that? We were talking about spiritual readers and all that.
Right.
We were talking about that. And my spiritual reader sent me this thing on Tabitha Brown, or told me to look up this thing around Tabitha Brown talking about her mother. You know who Tabitha Brown is?
Yes, I do.
So her mother, either her mother was 52 or something like that. She passed away from, I believe, ALS.
Okay.
Right? And she asked her mom, if you could do this all over again, would you take this cup from you, right? Having that condition, because that's horrific.
It's very debilitating.
That's horrific, and slow. It takes everything from you. And her mother said no. She said, because God trusted me enough to give this to me. He knew I could handle it. You know how huge that is? And the reason why oh my goodness, that I guess she knew to give that to me, because I thought about my mother, and I thought about the fact that my mother may have said the same thing, and she lost children.
That's hard.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine, and don't ever want to imagine.
Right.
But God trusted and knew that she could handle it. And you never know what will come of it, that God will use you in the meantime to bless others, right? So God trusted me with this journey. He has allowed the things in my life to be used for a greater purpose. And at the time, of course, I wouldn't have known it. But he brought it to light that conversation I had with that girl at Spelman would turn into impacting millions. So, for that, yes. Whew.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate you coming so much.
Same.
I value you.
I love you.
Thank you. I hope that this conversation resonates with you somewhere, that someone out there hears it, and it makes them think, and it makes them move forward in their life to know that they can get to their purpose, their passion, their prosperity. Thank you.